The circle of life keeps moving. The end of one journey is the beginning of the next. Everything moves in perfect symphony. All life cycles. Simply nature, simply evolving. Simply beautiful.
Here he's coming. My brother Jaime, after 10 years I don't see him.
Qué bien, cabrón.
I was living in Oahu at that time and I went there for school, and actually I learned kiting there. And so that was the year that Cabarete was the first contest of the World Tour. And I ended up going there, and from zero I went to the qualification, and I ended up on the same day in the final with Robby Nash. And I beat him. I was going to the next event in Germany and I won there, and the next event, and in 4 months I was a world champion, so it was not even in my head.
The Space Monkeys project was a really, I think, unique and fun project, because we went on these trips with Chris Tronolon.
And we organized everything to do the premiere.
Because we already had some sand handle passes and flat trees, and we already had that on the video. So when we first showed up to Locat, and I remember Mark Sheen was back then one of the leading characters on the tour, and he was like a challenger for the world title. I mean, among other riders, Simone Vannucci and Dave Taborski, and I mean, there were a lot of good riders. Adam Koch. And he also, like, they were like, you know, just training all winter long on this board off. And then when we came up with our video and they saw sand handle passes and flat handle passes, we turned around and we'd see the guys going like this. It was like the day before the contest started. Yeah. But we went from Locat to Podersdorf, and we had win in Podersdorf, and we took really good places.
Top 4 places.
Top 4 places, all 4 monkeys.
What made you think about the first handle pass? Like, was someone else doing it, or?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we get the credit for that.
Lou Wyman
was
the one that really pushed that side, because he came from wakeboarding, so he was like always riding the 2-line kites and a wakeboard with bindings.
Yeah.
And he was like really focused on doing that.
I'm curious to know, like, if you guys can talk about the competition you guys did in Mauritius back in the days, because I've been watching the videos, man. Like, that looks like impressing. Like, that gave me a lot of motivation to become a wave rider.
That contest was really amazing, because it was the first time like a lot of riders that got together and really like push each other to see who was the winner and who could do the most on the wave. It was hard because we were really pushing each other and really dedicating our lives to kite surfing, but at the end, no one really knew what kite surfing was. For me, it was a world champion, but back home they would ask me, world champion of what? What is that? They didn't even know. So for us, it was a really big focus to develop the sport and make it more mainstream. And the biggest industry that we thought that we could enter a bit was the surfing, and we could maybe get surfers to ride kites and make it more mainstream. And now seeing guys like Sebastian that come from the surfing world really excelling in kite surfing is really amazing.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. You know, like I think for us it's almost like the end of the circle. When you see the likes of Sebastian, Felipe, Pedro, you know, the guys are, you know, full like Brazilian surfers, and James too. How vertical you go, how fast, how, like, I mean, the way you read the waves, and it was mind-blowing to see the sport going that far. I mean, that's exactly what Martin and I were dreaming of back in the day.
I have to say, like, that gives me a lot of motivation because I didn't know you before, and my father was telling me, oh man, this Jaime Reyes, like one of the pioneers in the kiteboarding. I said, really? So I was there and took a picture, and yeah, it's Jaime, see your board. Oh man, he's no straps, it's incredible. And yeah, it makes the kid happy, you know. Like, I was a kid, and
It's funny to talk about these things because you can compare it to the cycle of life, how something is born and then it excels and then it fades off and the new generation comes. And like we were talking, you took a picture with Jaime and it was a big thing for you and pushed you to train, and probably there are hundreds of kids that look up to you guys now and take a photo, an autograph, and they're gonna put it on their wall and think about it every night. And
in a few years from now, you will be sitting with them around a table. And I hope you remember us.
it's funny because the sport has developed so much, but if you think about it, it's still really young because the first kites were invented maybe less than 30 years ago, and for a sport, this is still really new. But you already can see that there has been some 3 or 4 generations of riders. For example, me and Jaime, we looked at Lou Wyman and Elliot Lebeau and saw what they were doing, and we took it to the next level, and then at the same time we took a step off and the next generation came.
I think there's probably another generation of kids. They want to get your limits and shatter them. And I mean, this is what I would call the power of a new era.